Hey, welcome back to the Philbrook Football Podcast. It's the podcast where we talk about football and our last names are Philbrook. Look at that.
Wow. Tell me more.
This week, I'm joined by the guy that comes in every week. His name, Cameron. He also has that last name, Philbrook, because that's what the podcast is called. Philbrook Football Podcast. Can't have anybody that's not named something Philbrook.
Yeah, and if we do, I mean, at the end, we'd put like featuring so-and-so whose last name is not Philbrook.
Which would never happen because if your last name isn't Philbrook, you probably don't know anything about football. So,
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yep. So without further ado,
dude,
here's Cameron.
What if we get like kind of popular someday and we can get like an actual player to come like do an interview on our show? Wouldn't that be awesome? We'd ask like the realest questions. We wouldn't be asking them like, is a hot dog a sandwich or not? Like, we would be asking stupid questions.
Did you just say if we got popular and got a real NFL player?
Well, it doesn't have to be NFL. It could be like college. I'd even consider just doing a high school football player like interview. That'd be cool.
How did it feel to literally destroy that school that doesn't even have a football program?
You know, I probably could. All I'd have to do is like pay for entrance into McKenzie Stadium to do like a thing, and then I could come up and be like, my name's Cameron Philbrook with the Philbrook Football Podcast, and I wanted to ask you a couple questions. And then they would probably be like, sure. I mean,
they'd be like, oh, lit.
And I'd be like, so how did the game go? And they'd be like, oh, we executed in all three phases, and we were able to win the game. And
okay, but how did it really go?
Yeah, like...
That's nonsense.
Right. Dude, that'd be cool, but maybe someday. Who knows?
Okay, well, without further ado...
Yeah, let's get into the games.
Tell me the scores.
Oh, the
Cameron.
scores. Oh, what the heck? Where's the... What was the Thursday night game? I guess I didn't write that down.
It was the Broncos and Colts.
Oh, why did I think that happened on a Monday night? Okay.
Well, it happened... Okay, so to clarify, last week we recorded on Thursday.
That's why I was confused.
So we were watching the game as we were recording. So we were like kind of commentating on what was happening. So
yeah, so the Broncos ended up beating the Colts 25-13. Osweiler came in and threw a couple of good passes and, you know, against like the worst secondary in the league. So that's good of him.
Yep.
Broncos are now 5-9 and the Colts are 3-11. You know what's crazy is, just really quick, the Broncos are 5-9 and they've been one of like the worst teams all year. Mm-hmm. Yet like the Raiders are only one game ahead of them, and I mean they've been pretty bad too.
Raiders have been really bad.
Still, it's just interesting. Anyways, so the Broncos are 5-9, Colts are 3-11. We had a couple games on Saturday. One of them was a divisional matchup between the Bears and the Lions. Bears were unable to pull this one out, so they lost 10-20. Drops them to 4-10, and the Lions are sitting at 8-6, still in the hunt for a wild card spot.
Yep, just can't lose another game.
Yep. Then we had later that evening we had the Chargers against the Chiefs in a game that I thought the Chargers were going to show up to. And
I did too.
They crapped themselves.
They did not.
They only scored 13 points, and the Chiefs scored 30. Chargers are 7-7, and the Chiefs are ahead of them by one game at 8-6. So then. Those were the only two games on Saturday. I'm not sure why they were even on a Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's more of that happening this week too, where there's another one on Saturday.
I wonder if it's just like a holidays thing, or
it might be because of bowl season and just scheduling for TV networks.
Probably. So Sunday games, the Rams wasted on the Seahawks 42-7. The Rams are sitting at 10-4, and the Seahawks are at 8-6. Seahawks are not in control of their own destiny anymore. Nope. They need a couple of things to happen in order to make a wild card spot. So not looking good for the Seahawks postseason hopes. So then we had the Dolphins against the Bills. Dolphins continue to be completely inconsistent.
Yep,
beating one of the best teams in the league last week. And then this week against the Bills, falling short 16-24. Dolphins are sitting at 6-8, while the Bills are probably the worst 8-6 team ever.
They're 8-6?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're in a playoff spot, dude.
Oh god. I didn't even realize. They're 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of craziness.
Oh man.
Yeah, so then the next
so
game I have
embarrassing.
is the Packers against the Panthers. Panthers won 31-24, eliminating the Packers from playoff contention in Rodgers' return from his collarbone injury. Packers are at 7-7 now, and the Panthers are sitting at 10-4. Ravens against the Browns. Ravens won 27-10. Ravens are sitting at 8-6, and the Browns are sitting at 0-14 somehow still.
I really did try to say that they were going to win this game in the last podcast, and I apologize to the Ravens defense.
Yeah, Kaiser is just so bad, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought I had a little more faith in him than maybe I should have, but he had been playing better with Josh Gordon in the lineup, and he still couldn't get it done.
he just can't see the field. He's not ready to be a starter, and his confidence is completely shot because his coach has killed any confidence he had. It's kind of sad, but next game we had was the Texans against the Jaguars. The Jaguars completely just steamrolled them, 45-7. Texans are at 4-10, and Jags are at 10-4. Opposite records.
Yep.
Texans are actually kind of in a good spot where next year, if their team comes back healthy, they also get a high draft pick.
Yeah.
So that should help them out. Hopefully they use it on a secondary player or something. On the defensive side for sure. Anyways, then the next game I had was the Bengals against the Vikings. Vikings won 34-7, pushing the Bengals to 5-9 and boosting their own record to 11-3. Then let's see, the Jets against the Saints. Saints won 31-19. Jets are sitting at 5-9 and 10-4 for the Saints. Eagles against the Giants. The Eagles won 34-29, pushing the Eagles to 12-2 for the best record in the league, and the Giants at 2-12 for the second worst record in the league. Let's see, Cardinals against the Redskins. Redskins win 20-15. Both teams are sitting at 6-8 right now. Titans against the 49ers. Lost 23-25. Titans are sitting at 8-6, and the Niners, undefeated with Jimmy Garoppolo, are sitting at 4-10. Cowboys against the Raiders. Cowboys won 20-17. Cowboys are sitting at 8-6. Raiders are at 6-8. Patriots against the Steelers. Patriots won 27-24. Both teams are sitting at 11-3. And then on Monday night, the Falcons against the Bucks won 24-21. Falcons are sitting at 9-5, and the Bucks are sitting at 4-10. Not necessarily the season that the Bucks were hoping for, as they have underperformed it drastically.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad all year, and I think a lack of any real leadership on that team has hurt them pretty bad. Jameis Winston is technically their leader, but he's a very immature person, and just it's hard to rally behind a guy that's licking his fingers on the sideline. Dude just needs to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, he's really only the leader, I feel like, because he happens to be the starting quarterback for a team. I mean, it feels like every starting quarterback is looked upon to be the leader of their team, both, to the media and in the locker room.
Right.
But he has not matured enough to have people take him seriously, I don't think. I think his teammates respect him probably. They probably do see him as a leader, but he just has these lapses of immaturity that really prove detrimental to his locker room and to his team. But yeah, for a team that was getting a lot of preseason hype, they've definitely underperformed all year. This has definitely not been the kind of year that they were hoping for. I'm sure they were hoping for, a season at least above 500.
Right.
Looking for something along the lines of what the Titans are having, where the Titans are kind of in the playoff hunt still, but have looked really bad the last few weeks.
But I will say, this game against the Niners, I think, was good for Marcus Mariota because he went the entire game without throwing a pick, and he was he was consistent through the whole game, completing passes, keeping them in the game. He had himself a good game, and I think if anything, he got himself back on track in that game. So
that's what I'm hoping for.
Titans maybe aren't as in bad of a spot as we might think they are, just because of how they've been slumping.
Yeah, their offense is just kind of, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. I think they're trying to run DeMarco Murray into the ground because they know they're not going to get anything out of him, but it's really not working at this point. No. I mean, the guy's averaging less than 3 yards a carry, and rushing wise has been completely outplayed by Derrick Henry. He still gets work in the passing downs and stuff, but their offense just needs a year to, one, move on from DeMarco Murray, and two, build some chemistry with Marcus Mariota. I mean, their best performing receiver all year has been Rashard Matthews, because he's the only dude that, and Delaney Walker, really.
Right.
Because those two guys are the only guys that Mariota has a really good connection with. I mean, Corey Davis was injured for a lot of the year, so they haven't been able to build up chemistry together. Eric Decker, kind of the same situation, been injured off and on all year, and hasn't been able to build that chemistry with Mariota. So another year under their belt, and they should be doing okay. They're still, I mean, they're pretty much performing exactly how, I mean, at least their record wise, how we expected them to.
Yeah.
About, competing for a wild card spot, that's where you want to be. At least they're going to end up with probably at least a 500 record. If they lose their last two games, they'll be at 8-8. If they can pull out another win, 9-7, that's not bad. I mean, for a team that just 3 years ago was bottom 5 team. Now
they won like 2 games the season before they got Mariota. So
it's good. I mean, they're in a good spot. They just need to build up some more on the defense, get some younger guys in there, and they should be good to go. But I mean, there's a whole trove of teams that haven't performed nearly to the expectation that they were, going into preseason. I have some teams here that had underperformed this year, at least in my opinion. Off the top of your head, who are some of your biggest underperformers?
As far as underperformers go, I mean, the top one for me, even though they're in playoff contention, is the Falcons, just because I think everyone knew that the loss of Shanahan was going to be pretty significant, especially when his replacement was Steve Sarkisian. But I mean, good Lord, the amount of talent they have on that roster to be only competing for a wild card spot is just silly. It's they go from this Matt Ryan MVP season from last year where their offense is just insane to this year being mediocre and inconsistent, and their running game hasn't been as good. Their passing is predictable and doesn't utilize their real talent at all. I mean, it's just it's been pretty bad just all around, and their defense should be better. And I don't know. It's just...
Oh, no, I agree with you. That was one of the teams that I wrote down, because although they're sitting at 9-5 and looking like they're probably a lock to get a wild card spot, well, not a lock, but...
I wouldn't say a lock.
They're not a lock, but...
They have to play the Panthers and Saints for the last 2 games. That's really hard.
That's kind of the downfall of them this year, was the fact that the Panthers and the Saints both stepped it up.
Yep.
I mean, last year, neither of those teams was really threatening them in the division, whereas this year, both those teams are making very strong pushes to win the division. And you're right. I mean, a team coming off of a Super Bowl loss and one of the best years, one of the most efficient offenses in NFL history. I mean, you would expect them to be better than 9-5.
Right.
You'd expect them to be right there with the rest of their division, trying to get that.
I expected them to win the division. I didn't expect... Now, as much as I don't give the Panthers credit, and I really didn't believe much in them until they beat the Vikings just like a week ago or so, 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. Once that happened, I said, okay, I will cut them some slack. I'm still not sold on Cam Newton, but I am more sold on the rest of their team now. Especially with how they beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers back this last weekend, I as a team feel better about them.
Yeah. Yeah, they've definitely been one of those teams where their record makes them look better than they are. I mean, they're finding a way to get it done. But I mean, even the year they went 15-1, they didn't look like a 15-1 team.
No.
They had a lot of things go right for them, sure, and that they're having a lot of that same stuff this year.
I mean, I still don't believe they're a Super Bowl contender, if I'm being honest. The offense is too finicky and inconsistent and way too reliant on a run game. And don't even tell me, oh, you threw 4 touchdown passes last week. Yeah, against the Packers.
You're right.
Don't tell me what people's stats are against the Packers, okay? Look at his stats against the Vikings. He did almost all of his damage on the ground and then threw for like 100 yards and a pick. I think he had a touchdown.
Yeah, Funchess had one.
Yeah, but those are not Super Bowl winning numbers. No. You can't do that.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that will take advantage of a subpar defense. But against a top defense in the league like Minnesota, yeah, they ended up winning that game, which is great. I think Minnesota just had a bad day offensively.
I mean, they're going to lose eventually.
Yeah. I mean, even the Steelers lost to the Bears earlier this year.
Yeah, so, it happens.
Yeah. That was before they lost all their defensive guys, and I mean that it just happens in the NFL. It's so volatile. But yeah, Atlanta is definitely one that isn't performing to expectations. How about Oakland? I mean, this was a team that went 13-3 last year. I want to say
they did not go 13-3 last year. Yeah, I think it was 12-4.
I think they went 12-4. Derek Carr was, an MVP candidate for a lot of the year until he was injured.
Yep. Broke his leg.
And I mean, once he got injured, it was night and day between the team with the teams. Somehow they took a step back on defense. I don't know how that happened. I haven't watched enough Oakland football to really know what exactly it was that caused this to happen. But their defense has been very poor.
Yeah, it's been bad.
Offense has been extremely inconsistent. Amari Cooper dropping balls all over the place, not playing like he was last year. Crabtree has been their most consistent offensive weapon all year. Him and I guess Jared Cook as well.
Yeah, he's been there.
But Marshawn Lynch hasn't solidified that run game any more than it really was last year with Latavius Murray and their other couple of running backs.
I will say, though, that I think a lot of that falls on the play calling, though, because when he does get the ball, he's producing. Especially the last 4 weeks, he's been better and better. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of why they lost this last week to Dallas was because they didn't give Marshawn the ball more. Every time they give him the ball, it was solid. And they shy away from it because their offense is so finicky. They put in guys like Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington, who are 2 yard a carry galore.
They want to use him as change of pace backs or receiving backs.
Marshawn can do all of that. Use them to just give him a break. You don't need to take Marshawn out for passing downs.
True.
He when he led the league in 2013 or whatever, 2014 in touchdowns, a lot of those were receiving touchdowns too, because he had such a crucial role in the passing game. And Oakland has only been using him as a runner, and that makes your offense predictable. And you can't, if you're competing for the playoffs, you can't just have a predictable offense.
Yeah, they've definitely, in my opinion, were the biggest regressors this year. They took the biggest step back. So they were one of the biggest ones for me. In the same division, the Broncos are in the same boat. Yes, they only because of what was talked about in preseason.
Right.
Everybody was expecting Trevor Siemian take a step forward. Mm-hmm. That defense still had a lot of great players, still does have a lot of great players. The biggest question marks were, how will Vance Joseph be as a head coach? How's the defense going to perform without Wade Phillips? but I don't think anybody predicted them being this bad.
No, I didn't think they'd be this bad. I didn't have very high expectations for them because I think they're very limited by their offensive line and then by their not very mobile quarterbacks. Because if you're going to have a bad offensive line, you need a guy that can move out of the way when they're coming after him. And
Right.
Simeon and Brock the Lobster are not those people. So I didn't even really expect them to have a winning season, but I mean, it was really bad. They've gotten a couple wins recently because they've been playing garbage teams, but
Yeah,
like
the Colts, for example.
I mean, they've been awful all year, and other than the first like 3 weeks when they were 3-0 or whatever,
Right.
like, and they lost 9 straight. I mean, it's just I didn't expect them to have a great season, but when you have a defense that has that much talent on it, you should not lose 9 games. You shouldn't be as bad as you are. Like,
and you should definitely be in games more. You shouldn't be like
Right.
in these games that are completely out of reach. And I don't know. At this point, it's what they need to do is use these last 2 games as just talent evaluation games.
right.
Treat it like preseason. Like bring in guys who you just want to see how they end up, because really there's no point. I mean, of course, as a NFL team, you want to win games, of course, for your own pride and, for some of these guys, their job. But if I'm front office, I'm thinking the only thing that winning these last couple games is going to do is either piss off a divisional rival or, and hurt our draft stock.
Right.
I mean, they really have nothing to gain from winning these last couple games. Might as well not necessarily throw the games, but send guys out there that you want to get some more reps for next year. Get them some experience, that kind of thing. Honestly, I may have hyped myself up a little bit on Chad Kelly the other day. I watched some of his Ole Miss highlights. That dude made Laquan Treadwell a first-round pick. I mean, that was a lot of him. He has
I just don't think Chad Kelly's the answer for the Broncos.
I don't know if he's the answer, but he's definitely a question, and they need to answer that question, because Paxton Lynch is garbage. He's terrible. He is not going to be the starter for this team or the future franchise guy like they were hoping. Brock Osweiler somehow made his way back to Denver, and like that's great and all, but he's garbage. Don't let this game against the freaking Colts fool you. He played one of the worst secondaries in the league right now and torched him. It happens. It's happened all year.
Torch is a strong word. Throwing for less than 300 yards, I wouldn't say is torched.
Right, but I mean, compared to that's torching for Brock Lobster.
Right.
I mean,
his average game is like 150 yards and a pick, so.
Yeah. So that's great. He's always been a cult killer, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Denver underperformed, Atlanta, Oakland. We talked about Tampa not having the season that they wanted. And then honestly, I'm going to throw the Browns out there, because given the amount of talent that they have, just pure football talent, you'd think they could win at least one game. I mean, you cannot tell me that their team is that bad.
I'm kind of on the same page as you, but at the same time, it's so hard to expect anything from the Browns. Like, even with the talent, you can have talented players, but when you have no good coaches on your team, you can't get anywhere. And they have garbage coaching staff. The organization is a mess in the first place. So, those players are, and not to mention the stigma around Cleveland. I mean, how can you have confidence playing there? Like,
yeah, for sure.
You play in a place where it is a joke to play on the team. Your team is a joke every year.
Yeah, their tickets are like $4 a piece.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And like,
dude, as a Seahawks fan, I'd have a great time to go to any NFL game for $4.
But we say that as fans of a decent team. I mean, when your team is a perennial trash heap for the last like 15 years, like
longer than that.
Yeah, longer than that.
Since like 99, I think.
Yeah, it's been bad. So if we're talking about like bottom feeders, and I mean, I'd say the Niners underperformed more than the Browns did.
I think the Niners are overperforming now.
Right now. I think they should have been better earlier in the year. I think they should have been better with Shanahan, Brian Hoyer, Pierre Garçon, Carlos Hyde. They should have been better.
Well, remember, they were actually really competitive in a lot of their games early in the year. That defense is just not very good right now. It's really young. And then with Beathard, Beathard, he tried his heart out, and he's, he put everything out there on the field, but he's not very good. He's a rookie. He needs a lot of work. He could end up as a great backup for them, for example.
Right.
But they did lose a lot of guys on offense, and now look, with Jimmy Garoppolo, are the Niners a good team now? Like they seem like a pretty
offensively
good team.
They're okay. They still with Pierre Garçon, it would be fun.
I would like to see that.
It would be really nice if Pierre Garçon was healthy. But I think that the development has been huge for Marquise Goodwin, that they've actually put some effort into developing him, and it's really showing with how he's playing with Jimmy at quarterback. That team is now undefeated with him, and
Marquise Goodwin has been averaging over 100 yards a game.
And he's not doing that on 2 receptions. He's doing it on like 8-9 receptions. Yep. He's putting up like these like Keenan Allen kind of games, and it's really enjoyable to watch, even though we're Seahawks fans. Like it's just nice to, look, the Rams are like taking the torch, you could say,
and taking the throne,
and it pisses us off, but it's happening, and you can't really stop it. But like, it's nice to have competition. Like, it would be fun at the beginning of the season when we were talking about the AFC West and we were talking about the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers. We were like, man, that's going to be like the best division in football, and it ended up being one of the worst. But
I wouldn't say one of the worst, but it's definitely middle of the pack.
If you really think about all the divisions in football, it's one of the worst right now.
The worst team is the Broncos at 5-9. Then
don't look at the record though.
The Raiders
look at how the
at
teams
6-8.
actually would stack up against other divisions.
Yeah,
your best team is 8-6.
It's a very well balanced division. I wouldn't say that it's one of the worst. There's what about that? You could say the same thing about the AFC North with being the Steelers are really good, but then the Browns and Bengals are both.
Well, I personally believe that's the worst division of football.
I guess you said one of the worst.
Yeah, I said one of the worst.
I guess I was thinking you were saying.
I think that the AFC, you can say whatever you want. Having one good team in your division, don't tell me the Ravens are a good team. Okay,
they're all right.
Their defense is okay. Like it's pretty solid. Like it's exploitable. I don't know how teams haven't been able to figure that out, especially the last couple of weeks. I guess it's because they played the Browns. Look, when you get to play the Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals 4 times, like, don't even with me.
Yeah,
that's just competition.
Just the Browns by themselves is like an extra bye week. They pretty much get 3 bye weeks a year, all 3 of those teams in the division, because they have, of course, their regular bye week, and then they play the Browns twice. Yeah,
and then I think they played the AFC South this year for their like out of division games. Like,
yes.
Like, oh geez, you play another kind of division. Like, you have the Jags now.
Yeah, the Jags and the Titans are competitive sometimes.
Yeah. Like,
but yeah, the Texans and the Colts are both in really bad places this year.
Yeah. So just to not stray too far away from the point is that I think that it's nice in the NFC West to have the Niners getting better, to have just more competition in the division, because it's more fun. That's why the NFC South has been fun to watch, because there's more competition now. Like, it's really nice to have an actual race to the playoffs and not just this crap that goes on in the AFC where it's Patriots and Steelers every year, Patriots and Steelers, and whoever else decides to come in and try their best,
right?
Because
this
it just doesn't
Jags.
matter. Like, yeah, the Chiefs made it to the conference championship, but they couldn't handle the Patriots. Nobody can ever handle the Patriots. It's just boring and redundant for the rest of the league. Yeah, if you're a Patriots fan, great. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but like,
I don't even know how you could find it fun anymore, because anything below like 12 wins is disappointing to you. Like, how can you live like that as a fan? Like, like anything above 10 wins, and I'm like, wow, what a great year.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because logistically, not just being a biased geek, like when you are looking at football, a 10-win season, that's a good season. That is a successful season. Okay. You can say 8-8 is, but that's not really successful. Okay. 10-6 is you had
I guess it
10
depends on your
wins,
team.
10 professional wins against professional teams. That's a good season.
Yeah.
Okay. When your standard is, if we don't win the Super Bowl, this team's on the decline, like,
Yeah.
that would be frustrating. And we kind of deal with that with Seattle, being Seattle fans, because the moment we lose a game, it is the same thing that happens with the Patriots. It's trash, scrap the whole team, blow it up, fire everyone. It's
Rebuild.
like, yeah. And it's like, oh my God, people are insane. Like just this last game against the Rams, it was, fire everyone, bench everyone, bench Russell Wilson. We don't need him getting hurt. I'm like, oh my God, we're still in the playoff hunt. Like, chill. Like, yes, the team has issues, but you're missing literally your starting defense. Like,
Yeah,
chill.
secondary at least.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It's good to have the divisional rivals. I mean, I'm not much on rivalries. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. Like yeah, I'll kind of like talk smack about the Niners or, Cardinals and they're bad or whatever, but like I'm not like full blown into it. So like I don't mind the other teams in our division being good. I mean, look back in like 2012 and 2011 through like 2014 when the Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers were all in like playoff contention and stuff. And like there was a year that the Niners and Seahawks were so good that the Cardinals went 10-6 and missed the playoffs.
Yep.
Like that's kind of how I see the NFC South this year. If the Falcons go 10-6, I mean, they have a very real possibility of missing out on the playoffs.
Yeah, but I will say they have the wins against specific teams to keep them in if they go 10-6, because they've beaten the Cowboys, they beat Seattle, and really the only team that could take them out in that case would be Detroit. So,
yeah.
So it's Falcons are pretty much guaranteed. They just have to win like one game, one of their last two games, and they'll be fine, because.
Which could be a very difficult thing to do.
It could, because they're two playoff teams, but I don't know. Either way, speaking of playoff teams, we talked about underperforming teams, but I think we should also throw some positive light on the podcast and talk about teams that have overperformed this year.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest team that overperformed this year has got to be the Jets. I mean, at least personally, man.
Right? No, absolutely.
There was so much talk all preseason, all during the offseason. This might be one of the worst rosters ever assembled in history.
Yeah,
and it's
everyone went all in on them.
They will go 0-16. And here they are sitting at 5-9.
Yep.
They won 5 games, and they've been competitive in a lot of them. I don't expect them to be very competitive in the next couple games, considering Bryce Petty.
Yeah.
But I mean, they really surprised a lot of people. Their offense actually got some things going. Like Jermaine Kearse was like actually a good addition for them.
Mm-hmm.
He played really well this year for them, which was awesome to see as a Seahawks fan and somebody who doesn't particularly hate the Huskies. It was cool to see him go to another team and find some success there. That was good to see. Their defense hasn't really been all that great, and they're definitely losing the locker room now. I mean, Wilkerson is obviously trying to get his way out of there by being lazy and not showing up, and I can't really blame him because the team is on rebuild, and he's like trying to, at this point, just solidify his career with some playoff wins or maybe a Super Bowl appearance or something like that. Because he's a great player.
Yeah.
He's a monster D lineman. But he's played for the Jets his whole career and really doesn't have anything to show for it.
Yeah.
Can't really blame him, but at the same time, like, dude, you're a professional. I just because my restaurant's losing money or whatever doesn't mean I can't show up for work because I want to go work somewhere else. Like it doesn't really work like, it's different because obviously comparing like a barely above minimum wage job to, multi.
Well, if you own your own restaurant, I'm sure you would make more than minimum wage.
Right. But I mean like as an employee for a restaurant,
right.
Like I can't just not show up to work because we're not getting that much business.
But if you give like your 2 weeks, like show up for the 2 weeks.
So is this Wilkerson giving his 2 weeks
pretty
notice?
much. I mean, dude probably won't show up for the team next year. If they don't get someone good in the draft, if they don't get some serious talent in the draft, he's probably not even going to show up. He's going to say, no, just trade me. I don't want to play.
Once the season is over, we should definitely do a little bit of research on. I've been doing a little bit of research on mock drafts and stuff like that, but we can do our own little, like maybe just a first round mock or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the Jets, along with a lot of other teams, are in need of some quarterback play. Josh McCown, I'm assuming, is going to retire after this year. He's like, what,
I would think
40 years old now?
No, he's not 40. He's, I think, 36.
I thought he was like 38 or 39.
No, I think he's 36. But
he's getting up there.
He's getting up there, and he just got injured pretty bad, put on IR. Like it might be in his best interest to retire.
Yeah, get into coaching, man. He seemed like, that's what he wants to do. He was on the sidelines as a player coach. And,
yeah.
I mean, before he got brought out of retirement, he was working for like a high school as a high school football coach, and their team was like undefeated and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I mean, you never know. I mean, he could be a good coaching assistant or something like that. I think that'd be in his best interest. Get away from the contact, still stay in the game, but more on the philosophy side of things,
right,
as opposed to the action. But yeah, anyways, the Jets definitely overperformed for me. What are some other teams that you think, or what's one that comes to mind to you?
Well, I mean, the easy ones are the ones that pretty much everyone's talked about at this point, just the Rams and the Vikings and the Eagles. Those are the easy ones because everyone, it's been all season they've been talking about those. And I would like to say that the Chargers overperformed this year, and not so much in the sense of like they really like blew it out of the water, because they're like, what are they, 6-7
No,
right now?
they're 7-7.
7-7.
They're sitting at 500.
But think about this: in that division, pretty much everybody thought, no, they're going to get steamrolled. They're not going to do anything. They like moved to a new stadium. Nobody cares about them. Like, their defense sucks, all this stuff, and they're 7-7. And if they would have won the game last week against the Chiefs, they're probably getting in the playoffs. So,
yep, I
think that they overperformed pretty admirably. And
well, yeah, especially down this final stretch,
right?
And considering some of the losses they've had on defense, losing Jason Verrett was huge for them. Mm-hmm. Although Casey Hayward has stepped up great. I mean, right, you got to wonder like what that team would be like if if you had both of those guys, along with Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa dominating. I mean, yeah, that team healthy is always a nightmare. It's just keeping those guys healthy.
Yep,
that's the problem. But I would say that. I mean, I'm an optimistic kind of like half Chargers fan, kind of like, not going to go hardcore for them or anything like that. But I would say they probably perform, for me at least, I think they performed about realistically. They are still, trying to work their way into a wild card spot, which would be over. If they make a wild card spot, they definitely overperformed this year. I think it's more, I mean, at least personally, I think it's more the fact that the rest of their division regressed so much makes them look a little bit better. But yeah, obviously they've overperformed a little bit, and then also I guess just record wise the Bills have overperformed. Definitely not expect them to be 8-6 at this point of the season. I would say record-wise they have, but I really wouldn't even say they've overperformed. I think the teams, just when they play against them, have underperformed drastically. I don't know what it is going against Buffalo, but their defense isn't great. Like, you've seen teams light them up. They're not terrible, but they're not like some elite defense. Definitely not elite. They're not like garbage tier though.
No,
or anything.
I mean
they have some talent.
They really got lucky with Tre'Davious White being as good as he's been for them. I mean,
Absolutely.
he's really been. I mean, when you look at him compared to Marshawn Lattimore, everyone raves about Marshawn Lattimore this year. Tre'Davious White has better numbers.
Oh yeah,
I mean
he has better numbers, but he plays for a smaller market,
right?
Which is weird considering it's Buffalo, which is in New York, but. And the Saints is New Orleans, which
but he plays for the Bills. That's the problem.
Yeah, but he plays for the Bills. He's, the Bills are third in line in the pecking order of Jets teams,
right?
Or Jets teams,
New York teams,
New York teams. God dang it. They're kind of an afterthought. They're more a Canadian team than they are a New York team. But
they haven't done anything since like 1990. So
yeah, when they proceeded to lose, what was it, 4 Super Bowls?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh God.
But like, yeah, I don't know if I would truly say they have overperformed. Like I said, they overperformed in the record sense. Yeah,
they have 8 wins somehow and only 6 losses, but they have like a minus 40 point differential.
Well, it's like because their wins have been by like 6 points. It'd be like 7-13 or
True.
like 16-10,
and they also got blown the F out by the Chargers. When Peterman threw 5 interceptions.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
It was pretty bad.
But yeah, they've overperformed to this point, which kind of sucks for them because now they're gonna get wasted on in the playoffs and also have a middle pick for the draft.
They're missing out on all the quarterbacks. Like,
I thought they were gonna make Peterman their guy of the future.
Yeah, well, you never know with them.
He's
really
a tall white dude, and here on the East Coast, we really like tall white dudes.
Yeah,
this black dude, no, don't like him.
Put him on a team, and they'll go win 10 games. Yeah, if we're really talking about. Again, I mean, the easy ones are just pretty much every NFC playoff team right now.
Right.
Those are all the easy ones to say. But like, really, the Jags are kind of the other one for me. Just because when you think about the Jags, you don't think playoff team. You don't think shutdown team. Like, you think they're the Jags.
Haven't been to the playoffs in 10 years.
Yeah, they're a bunch of Jags. Like, they're not good.
God hates Jags.
But when you're looking at this roster and you look at this team good Lord, that defense is just a nightmare. And it's like, it is exposable, but on a very, very low basis. You have to take advantage of the couple of opportunities you get in a game to really do anything because they are like, it's ridiculous. That pass rush is insane. Their linebackers have progressed really well. Even with Telvin Smith out, you have Miles Jack playing really well. And then that secondary is a nightmare. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Like, those corners, it just reminds me of Denver's defense in 2015. Like, it's just pass rush, great cover corners, safeties that can play up on the run. Yeah. It's
not like the best run team, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's a passing league.
Right.
And if
exactly
all they need to do is stop you from passing at the beginning of the game, limit your run game a little bit. And once they score some points and get a lead, I mean, most teams are just abandoning the run anyways, and they have to go with the pass against a team who does very well against the pass. The Jaguars are definitely overperforming this year. Blake Bortles in general is overperforming. I mean, he's been really good without his top 3 receivers sometimes. Yep. All 3. Allen Robinson's been out all year. Allen Hurns has been like...
He's been pretty much out all year.
Marquise Lee has been injured here and there. They've been relying on guys like D.D. Westbrook, who just came back, Kalen Cole, all these guys... Mickens, that guy he played really well last week.
Ron Mickens.
Yeah, I mean, but Bortles has been playing lights out, and it's pissing off a lot of teams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're like, we're getting beat by Blake Bortles. That guy sucks. And he's just like, well, if this is
the Texans,
if this is us, yeah,
Jadeveon Clowney,
he's garbage.
He's trash. It's
trash.
Like, okay, but you just lost 45-7. Like,
and he torched the living hell out of you.
Like, dude, you let like a 5th string receiver put up 7 for 186 in a team.
Yeah.
Like, What's
Who's
wrong
trash?
with you?
If he's trash, what are you? Like a literal
what does that make
dumpster
Kareem
fire.
Jackson? Because let's be real here, he's pretty bad at this point. If he's giving up that much,
Man, I don't think I've ever gotten this hyped up about the Jags.
because they're a bunch of Jags.
Yeah, I mean, they hired Doug Marrone as their head coach, and like, that guy. All I know him for is, he was the dude who coached at Syracuse, right? Went to the Bills, and then everybody was like, you should draft the quarterback that you had at Syracuse. What was his? I don't remember his name.
Ryan Nassib.
Yeah, Nassib. And they were like, he was like, no, he's garbage.
Yeah.
I'll let the other New York team draft him.
Yeah.
I don't remember who they got.
Giants.
No, I mean, I don't remember who the Bills.
Oh,
EJ Manuel. That's right.
oh God, that's right.
So, like, yeah, I mean, when you think Doug Marrone, you don't think, wow, this guy
classic
can turn
quarterbacks.
around a franchise. You think, Doug Marrone, great. We're going to have like a good old 7-9, 8-8 years. This will be
Yep.
great. Or we could go 2-14. You never know. Like, but man, he's definitely him and all of the free agents that they got thanks to their insane amount of cap
Yeah,
space.
I mean, they just spent a ton of money like 2 years ago just getting all of these free agents, and then they added Calais Campbell this year, and that just kind of solidified it. It's like, okay, now we got our missing piece. We're good.
They really did their rebuild exactly how you want it. It's
Yep.
like they brought in Gus Bradley, like, okay, we'll take a shot on this guy who has never been a head coach. We'll see how he does. He did terrible, so they kept him around so they could keep stockpiling these, early draft picks. And they're like, okay, now our roster, we could probably contend. So we're going to fire you and bring in a guy who we have more confidence in. And now look at, boom, rebuild done.
Yep.
They got their defense locked in for the next few years until Jalen Ramsey needs to get paid. And then he's going to make buku bucks.
Yeah, but at that point, Calais Campbell's going to retire, and Malik Jackson's going to be getting up there in age. Like, some of these guys that they're paying a lot of money, they're probably going to retire at that point. By the time
Paul
Jalen Ramsey,
Posluszky's going to be gone.
yeah, Paul Posluszky.
He's like the longest tenured Jaguar in history or something. I swear that guy's been with them since they like started playing back in the 90s or whatever.
loyal.
This hoe is loyal. God.
This Posluszky is loyal.
This
Yeah.
Paul is loyal.
Okay.
Oh God. Anyway.
But yeah, so I don't think they're too worried about paying Ramsey when he needs to be paid. I think they'll be fine. So
I hope not, but I hope he just goes to some
Seattle.
other team. Oh, that'd be cool, but not gonna happen.
do it.
Well, maybe if like Richard Sherman retires by then.
As far as
we
I know,
could just-
Richard Sherman wants to play until he's about 35, is what I've been hearing.
Well, either way, whether he's with the team or not, like if he retires in around the time that we want to reload in the secondary, I mean, we could give Ramsey a mega contract, get rid of Sherman. We'd have the cap space for it. I mean, why not, man? Oh my God. No, that's just like wet dream, of course, for Seattle. They wouldn't spend that much money on a free agent. They never do.
They would just draft a corner in the 5th round instead and see what happens.
Turn him into an all-pro.
Or just have him be Ty Smith.
Or Mike Tyson or any of the corners they've drafted in late rounds that don't turn into anything. DeAndre Elliott, freaking...
Yeah.
Anyways. But we're good at developing DB talent.
Yeah.
Anyways. What are we at? What are we at on time?
Almost 50 minutes.
Cool. So that gives me enough time to talk crap about the Packers and the fact that they're eliminated from the playoffs. As a Seahawks fan, oh my God, there's nothing I love more than crapping on Packers. They make me so mad, and honestly, like, I think they have the worst fans in the league because they feel so entitled and so great. I mean, they're up there with the Patriots and Cowboys.
I don't know if they have the worst fans in the league.
I think they're the worst.
I
They're
think
just
their
like
egos are bad. But I think that as far as like their actual like disrespect goes, I think so much of the disrespect comes from their inflation with Aaron Rodgers and their team because of just the Packers' history.
I guess the only like Packers fans I ever interact with on a regular basis are the ones on Reddit. And the Packers fans on Reddit, just most of them, not all of them, of course, not every fan of every team is bad, but it's like they have this like, oh my God, obsession with just bashing Seahawks. It's like anytime anything bad happens, I guarantee you the most upvoted comments are going to be Packers fans crapping on Seahawks, and
Jealousy does that.
yeah, they just have this like,
Don't tell me this like jealousy. We have all these rings, dude. How many of those rings came in the last 50 years? How many have you won since Bart Starr?
well, didn't they win a couple with Brett Favre?
One with Favre.
One with Favre and one with Rodgers.
One with Rodgers. How many did you win? 2.
Still one more than Seattle.
Oh, congratulations. You should. You've been around for like 40 more years than Seattle has. Like,
well, yeah. Either way, I mean, I think they just like to do it because they're honestly still mad about the Fail Mary game.
I know.
They will never get over that, and like will always look to that as the reason why their season was lost that year or whatever. And it's like, oh, maybe if you guys just had like, defenses that were worth anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just the Seahawks' fault, but that's fine. I mean, I'll let the Seahawks take credit for ruining their season.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And really, I mean,
but anyways, that was lots of years, different years and stuff. I'm talking about this year. They're sitting at 7-7. Rodgers comes back, rushed back into action,
Lord.
throws 3 picks. Hasn't had a 3-pick game ever, I don't think.
well, I think he
or
has
since his rookie year. And it was I want to say sad, but I was just laughing my ass off every time he threw a pick. I was like, this is amazing. Although I was pissed because I had frickin' Devin Funchess on my fantasy team.
Right, and that didn't really help you because he had 1 reception in the entire game.
Yep. And if it wasn't for him putting up a dud, I probably would have been in the championships right now.
Yeah, I
only lost by a few, like 6 points. So
I'd say so.
God,
but
stupid.
But really, with your point about the Packers fans, the Packers fans I interact with are almost always on like in real life. So I have friends that are Packers fans, and they consistently have said like, listen, our team, I love my team, grew up watching them. Like they love their team. They understand that without Aaron Rodgers, they're basically nothing. Like when I say like, well, what happens if Aaron Rodgers gets injured? Like he has. And they're like, well, we all hate Brett Hundley, which he's been playing fine. Okay. He had like a bad game and everyone's like, fire him and ban him from the NFL. I'm like, whoa.
We had a few bad games
but like,
before he started doing
better. Like, give him a chance. Like,
I don't know. He just looks like a cancer patient to me. I can't get it behind a guy who looks like that.
But either way, from the people I hear about, they really don't like rub it in my face. Like, oh, I'm a Packers fan.
Well, like I said, like they're not all bad. I'm not saying like it's just like people who are racist. Like they, I'm not like racist towards the Packers. I don't think all of their fans are garbage, but like so many of them just love to just bash the Seahawks. I mean, pretty much every fan of every other team in the NFL likes to bash the Seahawks
because they've been dominant.
Although Texans are like our bros in the AFC. I feel like the Texans, we have like this mutual respect for each other.
Well, because like they have Deshaun Watson. He's basically Russell Wilson, like 0.7. Like,
well, plus like our game against them was like really good, clean game. There wasn't like any like controversial anything in the game. It was just like it was a great hard fought game. And now the Texans, they're like, we expansion too. We have respect for you, and like that's cool because I like the Texans when they have like a healthy team and stuff. Because DeAndre Hopkins is like definitely my favorite receiver in the league.
Yeah,
other than Baldwin, of course. But I mean, either way, yeah, people really like to bash the Seahawks. I don't know what. I think it's because like recent success. I mean, it's the same reason people didn't like Ducks fans for the longest time.
Yep.
It's just recent success. I mean, that's why people are hating on the Jags this year, and you see all these teams hating on the Jags because they're having a good year, and their fans are like,
their fans are pretty bad though.
yeah, and I mean,
their fans have some issues.
I think they at least deserve 1 year to just have these issues and be insane, considering they haven't been any good for the past 10 years. I mean, yeah, give them 1 year at least to rub it in everybody's face. Look how good we are. Yeah, we're above 500. Isn't this amazing? That's great for you guys. Let us know when you have some sustained success. But I'll let you have this year. I mean, it's just like if
develop some talent.
If Browns fans started, or if the Browns started winning and went above 500, I would let them talk as much crap as they wanted.
I would literally let them talk crap to me. I'd be like, "You go, Browns fans! Like, you deserve this.
You deserve it. Yes.
You have not been good since '67. Like
when you had Otto Graham and Jim Brown. Yep. Winning like AFL things in a row or whatever it was.
Yeah. So you deserve this one.
But no, Browns have no reason to think that they're going to be successful anytime soon, unless they fire Hugh Jackson and get like a real coach in there and to get a real quarterback, which they are probably going to get one this year.
I mean, they right now have 2 picks in the top 5. So I would assume they'd grab a quarterback. Maybe they just grab 2 to be safe.
If I'm the Browns, I'm taking Josh Rosen first because I think he looks the most NFL ready without the risk.
Sure. I disagree, but
personally, personally, I think the quarterback who has the best upside is Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to be the best, but realistically, what's going to happen is they're going to pick Rosen because he's prototypical quarterback size, played well in college despite the team around him and the coaching around him, and has a chance to develop into something really good. And then with their other pick, if I was that man, I'd be picking Saquon Barkley. That guy is going to be an absolute monster. Crowell is meh at best.
Yeah.
And Duke Johnson is a great change of pace back for them, a good receiving back. They definitely need to retain him because he does have a lot of talent, and he's been their most consistent guy on offense all year. But Saquon Barkley would be an immediate upgrade over Isaiah Crowell, who's inconsistent, has no vision essentially when it comes to reading holes. He's just kind of like a guy who's going to hit whatever hole he already decided he's going to hit.
He's better at Eddie Lacy.
Yeah. Yeah, like I wouldn't mind him with Seattle. I mean, he'd be huge.
I wouldn't want him.
Not with Chris Carson coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, with that, but like this year, I would take him over any running back we've had all year other than Chris Carson.
Yeah.
He's looked better than...
I like Mike Davis.
I like Mike Davis because he's playing his heart out for this team, and he's looked pretty good. But I mean, he's still averaging less than 4 yards a carry, and like not doing all that great. Like,
pretty sure he's doing better than 4 yards a carry. He had 2 games in a row where he had 66 yards, only 15 touches. So
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure his average is still below 4.
But even if it's close to 4 on a team that has 0 run blocking, that's not bad. Like,
I'm just saying, like, I think Crowell would be better than the crazy carousel we've had this year. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm kind of just sad that pretty much the money we've spent on Eddie Lacy was money that we could have had Hauschka for.
Right. I'm the same.
I mean,
of course, issue.
Of course, hindsight's 2020. You know, we thought
it's not hindsight. It's what was real. You had real talent in a kicker, and you had a bust of a running back, and you paid him money to lose weight. Like,
well, yeah, I think
there is no hindsight. It was just a decision.
It's a terrible decision in hindsight. In that, I mean, oh God, I mean, Blair Walsh sucks for sure. I don't think anybody expected. Well, a lot of people, I guess, expected him to suck this bad, but I mean, he's cost us games, and How
Sure.
often did Stephen Hauschka do that? Very rare.
He definitely had a bad year last year. This year,
I mean, his bad year is like would be a career best for freaking Blair Walsh.
right? It's that's kind of where it was. Like, even though Hauschka had a bad year last year, he was still better than any other kicker out there on the market. And the hindsight comes from like guys like Harrison Butker and Jake Elliott. Like, those guys, okay,
Giorgio Tavecchio.
yeah, like these guys are coming off like practice squads, and all of a sudden they're great kickers. Like, those are the things where you're like, I wish I would have taken the Chiefs practice squad kicker. Like, that's hindsight. Signing Eddie Lacy instead of your almost Pro Bowl kicker, like,
Yeah,
that's just garbage.
it definitely sucks. However, we couldn't expect Chris Carson to be as good as he was.
Okay, yeah.
We couldn't have. We couldn't have expected our special teams to be just so bad. We couldn't expect the run game to be just the worst. There's a lot of things. I think that they're banking on the rest of the team making up for deficiencies in the kicking game and in the special teams area. We've only had. Special teams in general has just been terrible for Seattle this year. They've only started past the 20 a few times.
Yeah.
Lockett's a great return guy, but it feels like every time he busts a big one, there's some stupid penalty.
Yeah.
One of our guys blocking in the back or holding or doing something
Seattle's the most
stupid.
penalized team in the league. And, a lot of that bashing you were talking about comes from people saying, oh, they get all the calls. It's like, really? Because we get penalized more than any other team in the NFL. But the point, like, those penalties kill on special teams. Like you were saying, every time Lockett busts out a big one. But I think a lot of it also comes from Lockett's been way more tentative in the return game, like except for the last like maybe couple of weeks. But the entire
you snap your femur in half.
Right, and that I think a lot of that has been a problem too, where all of a sudden Lockett, you see Lockett compared to last year, well, really his rookie year compared to this year, like. He was explosive. That's why he made the Pro Bowl. And I think he made the Pro Bowl again this year, technically. I think they voted him in as a returner.
Name recognition.
Yeah, I think that's really all it was there. But he has been okay the last couple of games, but nah.
He's still a great return guy. He just the special teams has regressed so much. That was a big thing for Pete Carroll, is having a good special teams.
Right.
And since a lot of our starters have gone out this year, as you know, a lot of our starters play on special teams, so we have a better advantage. Since a lot of guys have gotten injured, we haven't been able to do a lot of the same things we normally can do on special teams. But anyways, man, we've been talking about the Seahawks a lot this podcast.
Well, because there's a lot going on with them.
True.
Compared to a lot of the teams in the league. Pittsburgh. Okay, I know Antonio Brown's out. What else is happening? They're still winning.
I think it was just a contusion.
He's supposed to be back for the playoffs. Like, boo-hoo, they don't have him for the last two games that don't really mean anything. Like, Patriots. Rams just kicked our butt. Vikings are still good. Carolina's probably going to get the playoffs. Saints are still good.
Yeah.
What there's no storylines there. It's all, they're still just really good teams. Eagles are still winning. They have Nick Foles.
So I guess here's a little interesting tidbit. I just thought of. Did you know there's a clause in Mark Ingram's contract saying that if he makes All Pro, that he can immediately become a free agent?
No.
Yeah. So this year, obviously, he's had a top 5, maybe top 3 rushing year in the league, at least. Him and Alvin Kamara have been beastly together. The best running back tandem pretty much ever.
Yeah.
And he's got something in his contract that says if he makes All Pro first team, then he can become he'll become a free agent immediately, and he can sign obviously with whatever team he wants. Which I think is interesting, because I feel like they put that in there because obviously he's been very consistent for them, but he hasn't been as insane in any of the last couple of years as he has been this year.
Yeah, this has definitely been like his best season. Like,
yeah, which is awesome because I like Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
He's always been a good running back, underutilized because Sean Payton is, in my opinion, not a very good coach, and has been carried by Drew Brees.
Yeah, I would.
But anyways, I thought that was interesting because he has a real chance of making All Pro this year. I mean, who are the other running backs that you're going to put over him? You're going to have to think about it because they're a lot of. Obviously Le'Veon Bell.
Definitely Todd Gurley.
Le'Veon Bell. But I mean, the All Pro, don't they do it for conferences? So
I don't know if they do conferences. I think All Pro is just All Pro. Like,
interesting. Yeah, I guess I know Pro Bowl is
conferences,
but yeah, if it is by conference, the only NFC running back you can put over him is Todd Gurley. But obviously Le'Veon Bell would be probably getting in over him as well.
But like, I mean, if it's all pro, like everyone all pro, like even Kareem Hunt would probably get in before him.
I don't know if I'd go that far. He kind of, not himself, but the team definitely steered away from him for a few weeks.
He's still second in rushing in the entire league. Even after all that, he's still second in the league in rushing, and he's a rookie. Like, he's put up crazy numbers. Mark Ingram's not top 3. Like, that's kind of where that line gets drawn, where Gurley would probably get in before Hunt because Gurley is a freaking monster.
Yeah.
But Hunt's put up the numbers. And even though Kamara and Ingram have been like insane, not to take anything away from them, but they don't have the numbers individually to compete with those 3 at the top.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't know how the rest of the year is going to go the last 2 weeks. I mean, I hope Ingram puts up 200 yards a game or something like that.
I hope Kareem Hunt puts up 200 yards a game because they have him in my fantasy league.
Yeah, but
and I benched him when he put up 39 last week.
Yeah, job. Dude. Yeah. Well, anyways, we've been going for quite a while. We should definitely go into our predictions for next week.
It's predictions. Now it's baseball, apparently. All right, so there is no Thursday game this week because they have 2 Saturday games. So, without further ado, first game on the list, Saturday at 1:30 p.m. We have the Colts and the Ravens. This is pretty much easy. It's Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens. Their defense is going to be too much for Brissett.
Yeah, that's not much going on there. Ravens should move up to 9-6 at that point. Next game, Vikings and Packers. They put Aaron Rodgers in IR, so this really isn't as much of a game at this point.
But they did sign Joe Callahan back to the roster.
Joe Callahan.
See what he's got. Auto parts.
Won't play. Brett Hundley will play. Look, if Hundley keeps doing what he was doing, who am I kidding? They don't have a defense.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Vikings should win that game easily. The really only way that they could lose is if their defense just sleeps all game. Not much going on there. Browns versus Bears.
Oh, so this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one. So, the Bears are favored to win this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Fox, as the head coach of the Bears, is 0-7 all time in games where he's favored to win. The Browns' only win in the last 2 years has come on Thanksgiving. What the hell? On Christmas Eve. Their only win came on Christmas Eve. So who's gonna win? The winless, win-favored Bears or the undefeated on Christmas Eve, Hugh Jackson-led Browns? I'm going to go with the Bears.
Is that a tough call?
I'm going to go with the Bears.
I'm stressing out just thinking about the ramifications of this game.
Yeah.
Really, no one cares about this game. But if there is a week for the Browns, it's this one. Because you're not winning next week against the Steelers.
Well, didn't we say that against the Packers? If there's a week to win, it was good. Now we're just like lowering the bar. Like,
yeah, it's like,
if
okay,
there's a week to win. It'd
Josh
be
Gordon cannot just carry you. So,
he can't carry you, and your quarterback can't hit you in stride.
Exactly.
Or, like within 10
dude
yards.
had
of you.
11 targets last week, and more than half of them were just everywhere. Like, just, oh, so bad. So, I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to say the Bears win, but you know what?
They're talking about benching Kaiser and maybe putting Hogan back out there.
Because if they put literally anybody else out there, they have a better chance this week.
Yeah.
I think Kaiser needs to just like take a break. Like, I would like to see Cody Kessler play. I like Cody Kessler, so sue me. But
nobody's gonna sue you, but I mean that's what I was saying last week was like, oh yeah, just throw Kessler out there and see what he does with Gordon. Like, might as well. I mean, the guy's probably at least not so inaccurate.
I think Kaiser just stays because he has a better deep ball. Like, that's, and when you have a guy like Gordon and Coleman that can catch deep balls, like,
right.
So I don't know. Who cares?
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna say the Bears win. Yeah.
All right, next game, Lions versus Bengals. Lions should win handily. Bengals have been terrible.
Definitely.
Nothing much going on there. Rams and Titans should be okay, but the Rams should win pretty handily.
Yeah, I'd say so as well.
Unless Mariota goes nuts. Because they at least have an offensive line there, unlike Seattle. Yeah, so next game, Dolphins and Chiefs. I think Chiefs have gotten back their stride. I think they should be fine in this game. Their defense still struggles, but I mean, Marcus Peters definitely made the difference this last week. So he should be able to read Jay Cutler pretty well. So I think Chiefs have that one pretty easily. I don't know. I shouldn't say pretty easily. Dolphins are okay.
Dolphins, win games they have no business winning, and they really don't have any business winning this game. So.
And they stay in a lot of their games because they are like, you think Alex Smith is check down supreme. You've seen Jarvis Landry's average yards per target. It's like 5.
God.
Okay, next game, Bills and Patriots.
Could be a trap game for the Pats.
It could.
But I'm going to definitely take
the Bills are 8-6, Cameron.
The worst 8-6 possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It would take a huge game from LaShawn McCoy to really put this one away. But Rex Burkhead's doubtful. I don't think there's much of a chance of him playing this week.
Deion Lewis is going to shred that team.
Deion Lewis should shred. They might give Gillislee some playing time just because it's his old team, and they'll be like, go destroy your old team. But like,
no. I mean, they might activate him for this game.
They did.
So they activated him for this game. I really don't think he's going to get very much work. I don't either, but I think that if they're going to do anything on the goal line, I think they'll use Deion Lewis first and then James White, because then they have a chance to just pass on the goal line or run him.
I hope they don't use James
White necessary.
Because the guy I'm going against for the championship has James White, so I want him to have nothing.
Well, he's not going to start him.
He's starting him because he had Rex Burkhead, so he needed whoever was taking his spot. So either way, Patriots are probably winning this one, but it very well could be a trap game. So next game, Falcons and Saints, which is, I think, probably going to be the game of the week because the rest of them aren't really intense. So Falcons and Saints, this is a huge game, really, for both teams, if I'm being honest. Saints are 10-4. Falcons are 9-5. Falcons win this game, they would have the division lead, I think, because I think they beat the Panthers earlier in the year.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but either way, they'd be right up there for winning the division. So, the Falcons pulled it off. Last time they played, Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions and they still pulled it off. So
I don't think the Saints are going to let that happen again.
I don't think they will either, but who knows? Like,
I'll pick the Saints.
You never know. I think the Saints I'm going to pick the Saints because they have a healthy Mark Ingram. Alvin Kamara is probably not going to have a concussion in the first quarter this time. So I think they're going to be okay in this game. I think the Saints pull it out, but don't underestimate the Falcons. Okay.
Okay.
Julio Jones might not play though, so if he doesn't play, they're screwed. So next game, Chargers and Jets. Chargers should win pretty handily. Bryce Petty's terrible and won't be able to throw anything against Casey Hayward. Next game, I don't even care about your opinion because you're going to say the same thing. So next game, Broncos and Redskins. Again, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
Both
mean,
teams are eliminated.
the Redskins are only a game ahead of the Broncos. But I would still expect them to win this game. I think
I would too.
Redskins are, I think they have a much better shot.
Yeah. Next game, Buccaneers and Panthers. That's a joke. Buccaneers are screwed. They will not win this
they
game.
have like basically a college level defense at this point.
It's pretty bad.
It's really bad. They have like Geno Atkins, right? Like that's it.
Nope. Plays for the Bengals.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gerald
I'm thinking
McCoy?
of McCoy. Yes, that's like pretty much their only talent on defense, right?
Yeah, I mean they have
Brent Grimes.
young. They have Vernon Hargreaves, who's young. He has potential, I will say. I've seen some really good things for Vernon Hargreaves, but the rest of that defense is terrible. It's really bad. They have Levante David, but
oh yeah, he's their
he's really their only player.
Like by far their best player.
Yeah,
he's having like if he was on a better team, he'd be having a defensive player of the year kind of year this year.
Oh, send him to Seattle. We'll give you KJ Wright.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
So, but either way, Panthers should win that game. Should.
Yeah.
I'll never be that high on the Panthers to say they will win this game because you know what? I've seen them lose bad games before.
Indeed.
Okay. Next game, Jaguars and 49ers should actually be pretty fun to watch, but Jaguars have too much talent on defense. And Carlos Hyde, I don't know what the heck's happening with that guy. Like, I don't know what they're doing with him because they'll give him a carry and then just like not give him anything and throw it like 8 times, give him another carry, then throw it 8 times. And it's like, okay, I know that you're really excited about Jimmy Garoppolo, but that's not going to work against the Jaguars. So I think the Jags should win this game.
Absolutely.
Hopefully Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't just get destroyed in this game.
Yeah, I benched Marquise Goodwin this week. Yeah. As great as he's been, I mean, there's no way I'm going to trust him against Jacksonville.
All right, next game, Seattle and Dallas. Probably the second best game of the week right there. You could argue the Bills and Patriots, I guess. Or
I
don't know. I think this is probably should be a decent game. Because Todd Gurley just destroyed us, and Ezekiel Elliott's coming back. But that might mean he's rusty. You never know. But I think he's supposed to be in pretty good shape. So
he's got fresh legs.
Yeah,
he's got Darren McFadden syndrome. Fresh legs.
Yeah. So
I think
if they can contain him, they will be fine because they just cannot lean on Dak.
I don't know if they're going to be able to contain him.
I don't know if they will either, but KJ Wright's back this week, which is really going to help in tackling because Terrence Garvin's not anything.
Well, that's why we cut him in the first place was because he was so bad against the run. Yeah.
So I think having KJ Wright back is probably your people I think are maybe underestimating how huge that is for defending the run game. Bobby Wagner should have some more time this week to heal his hamstring a little bit. He's been playing with it all year. I'm hoping it's better this week because he really was not himself last week.
Yeah.
So, hence the 4 touchdowns from Todd Gurley in a half. So
yeah, it was terrible. I'm so glad I was working during that game.
I watched the entire thing, and I don't know why. Patriots and Steelers were playing, and I was like, nope, gonna watch my Seahawks.
Yeah, they changed the channel at work to the Steelers game.
Yeah,
I was on my lunch watching it, and I just started busting up laughing at the end of the game when I like at first I thought that Jesse James got the touchdown, and I was like, oh wow, that's a touchdown, nice. And then they called it back, and I was like, all right. And then, oh god, as soon as he threw the interception, I started laughing. I was like, Pittsburgh. Oh my God. And I was
Yeah.
just laughing in the middle of the restaurant.
Did you hear what Big Ben said after the game when he was asked about it?
Yeah, he like threw the team under the bus or something like that, didn't he? Like, or threw somebody under the bus. And then
He basically just said it wasn't a fake spike. We totally planned it. And he said like Eli Rogers ran a little slant route and he tried to get it to him and it just didn't work out. And I was like, hold on. You're saying it wasn't a fake spike, and basically
your coach
people
was
were
telling you to clock it.
people were screaming at him in his headset, clock it. He chose not to. Eli Rogers ran this like little slant route. He's the only guy running a route, and he has 3 people on him.
And Roethlisberger took forever to throw the ball. At that point, dude, throw it out of bounds or something.
Like it was awful. It was a terrible decision. Like, oh my God. It was
he
really...
came out and eventually said that was all on him and it was his fault. So
yeah,
after probably everybody was like, dude, you just threw everybody under the bus and made us all sound bad when that was your bad.
It wasn't 4th and goal, dude. It was 3rd and goal. You could spike it, kick a field goal,
get into overtime, see how it works from there. But anyways, why oh yeah, we were talking about the Rams wasting on the Seahawks during that game, and Zeke is gonna run train over us.
So back to the Seahawks and Cowboys prediction. Cowboys don't have a great defense, and their pass rush is kind of mediocre. So I don't know. I think Seattle bounces back this week.
I'd love to see them bounce back, but I have this very negative feeling about the Seahawks right now and their mental state. They really haven't been able to like keep it together the past couple weeks, and it's disheartening. I mean, we won against the Rams earlier this year, and because of that,
But we were lucky to do that. We won because of a drop.
Well, yeah, but we still beat them and played competitively. There's no reason why we should have lost such a huge margin, other than the players are. It's like they've checked out. It's like now that we're not big boys in the division anymore. Now they're all butthurt about it, and I don't know, man. I don't have a good feeling about this game. I really don't have a good feeling about these last 2 games for Seattle at all, especially week 17 if we're eliminated. And I don't know, man.
Well, what I'm going to say is Seattle, I think the hope of just you are still alive in the race, I think is going to be enough to at least keep the important players fired up, like the players you need to stay fired up. You're going to have Earl Thomas fired up. Russell Wilson is never going to not be fired up.
That's the only mode he has.
Yeah. I think if there's any concern, it's just guys on offense. For me, I think people on defense, like emotionally, you kind of know where they're at right now. Like I think Shaquille Griffin's consistently doing his thing, doing it the best he can. Byron Maxwell obviously does not have a ton of confidence. He's getting twisted around in circles by some of these guys. But like, yeah, I think offensively, I worry about Jimmy Graham. Like we've been talking about for a while. The dude I think he's checked out more than anyone else.
Yeah, he's like quitting on his routes. And
it's been it's pretty bad.
Outside of the red zone has been a 0 factor. He really hasn't. Obviously, he's still like leading all tight ends in touchdowns, and he's at like the top of, or he's in the top 10 receiving touchdowns in general. But like that's it. That's all he's done. Yeah. That's all he's done is caught short yardage touchdowns because he happens to be 7-8 inches taller than all the dudes he's playing against.
And you can say, well, they haven't utilized him enough, but when you watch the game, you see them try to get him the ball, and part of that's on the offensive line, but a lot of it is Jimmy Graham is not running. Like he's just out there. He's not like, you don't see him like sprinting out on that route and like just like really trying to get open. He'll just he'll do his route, and if he gets overthrown a little bit, he doesn't really feel like jumping out to try to leap and grab it. He'll just kind of let it fly, and he just, he's not putting in that effort.
I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but while we're on Seattle and Jimmy Graham, I would like, here's my opinion, and I might be in the minority on this. I probably am, but I would like to see them move on from Jimmy Graham next year. I would like to see them re-sign Luke Wilson, because I think they only signed him to a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
I would like to see them re-sign him, roll with him and Vinette, and then try to develop Tyrone Swoops. I think the dude is an athletic monster. Did it actually kind of decent in the preseason, considering he had never played tight end before.
Yeah.
But I think the guy is big enough, athletic enough that he could fill that role that we're paying Jimmy Graham, what, 10 mil right now?
Yeah, 10 or 11 mil.
To be in the end zone and be a big, tall guy and catch touchdowns. Like, that's great. Every team needs something like that, I think. But I think the Seahawks could do it for a lot cheaper. I mean, if we were using him in the middle of the field and doing all these, like, different things with him, like, yeah, if he was more of a weapon for us consistently, but he's just not. I would like to see them develop somebody else to be that red zone guy and spend the money elsewhere. Put it into our defense, put it into the offensive line, put it into a running back, anyone.
I think I agree that they need to move on, but if it's for the right reason. If you're moving on because you're like, oh, I want to add more defensive talent, no. You need to move on from Jimmy Graham to free up cap space to fix the line. You need to get someone in free agency. Dwayne Brown was a start. Okay. You need to get someone to replace Jermaine Fetty, because he is absolute trash. And
he definitely drives me insane with his penalties. If he could just get the penalties cleared up, I think he'd be serviceable.
Yeah. And that's his problem, though. His mental game is garbage. Yeah. He just cannot get mentally in the right mode. And either way, you just need more talent on that line. Luke Jokel's not the answer at left guard. He's filling in.
Been good.
He's been okay.
He's been good this year. The left side of our line has been the best part of...
It was getting beat up pretty hard against the Rams.
Well, yeah, I mean... I don't know. I mean, like I said, the team is checking out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Dwayne Brown against a fast defensive end like Robert Quinn is a great matchup. I mean, that's difficult for just the way Dwayne Brown plays.
Yeah,
his footwork. You watch that game, you could see his footwork just doesn't work with how fast Robert Quinn is. He just wasn't going well, but.
I'm sorry. What other games did we have? I'm really sorry to cut you off. I just feel like we've been talking about Seahawks.
I know. It's just, I mean, after what's been happening, it's hard not to as Seahawks fans. But yeah, I mean, okay. So are you saying the Cowboys win the game or Seattle?
I have a really bad feeling about it, but I'm never gonna pick against Seattle ever. So I'm gonna pick Seattle, but I'm definitely not gonna be surprised or in shock if Dallas comes in and makes us look bad.
Yeah, I think big matchup, Shaquille Griffin versus Dez Bryant, going to be key. If you can shut down Dez Bryant, makes it a lot easier to shut down the run game. So
yeah,
see what happens.
I think we're supposed to have Justin Coleman back too, so that would be good.
And he came back in the second half of last week's game. Yeah,
oh, okay.
He was back, so we should be fine. Okay, next game, Giants and Cardinals. Again, who really cares?
I'm going to say the Cardinals, though. I mean, Giants have only won 2 games all year. And they're going to...
I'm going to say the Giants. And here's why. They played their heart out against the Eagles. They came out to a big lead. Their defense is terrible. Gave up 4 touchdowns to Nick Foles. I mean, it's not on Eli. Eli threw like 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think they very well could win this game. Because Drew Stanton,
he was better than Blaine Gabbert. Barely, but he was better.
Yeah, it's not by much. They're both bad.
I don't care. As long as he loves throwing to Larry Fitzgerald, and that's cool with me. If he wants to throw to Larry Fitz all game, that's fine. As somebody who's playing for third place with Larry Fitzgerald as their number 1 wide receiver, unfortunately, I will be happy with Drew Stanton coming back.
Yeah.
I think they win this game because the Cardinals have much more talent on defense. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to really keep up offensively.
I don't know. I think the Giants are going to be fine in this one.
Yeah, we'll see.
Next game, Steelers and Texans. That's a joke.
Steelers.
Steelers are going to win by... Last time I said this, it was like, this team's going to win by like 40, and they won by like 3. So the Steelers should win by 2 scores. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
At least. And then the last game, Monday night on... Actually, Steelers and Texans is on Monday because we have 2 Christmas games. Boy, that's going to be a day of sports. Jeez. 2 NFL games plus like 8 NBA games or whatever. It's going to be insane. Yeah, so the night game for Monday, Raiders and Eagles, with Carson Wentz, you automatically say it's done, blowout, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. With Nick Foles, yeah, it should be somewhere in that same realm of things.
I mean, he still tossed 4 touchdowns against the Giants secondary.
But it took him a little bit to get going, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Foles is definitely probably the best backup in the league. He's
definitely
most likely.
Objectively, subjectively
speaking. I mean, he just kind of suffered from the Jeff Fisher disease for a year there, but he's definitely more than capable of helping this team get through into the playoffs. I don't know. I don't think he'll win a Super Bowl, but I mean, against the Raiders, who have a defense comparable to the Giants, I mean, he should do just fine.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Should roll right on through. And that wraps up the games and predictions for this week. We apologize if things were all over the place on the podcast.
I apologize.
I apologize. Fighting the death punch.
All this time, the Seahawks are on the outside of the playoff hunt. Don't really know what to expect from them now. I don't know. It's not good. The timing wasn't right.
I apologize for Cameron singing. Yeah. So that's going to wrap up things.
Your singing was so loud.
It's not that loud.
Oh.
Yeah, that's everything for this week. Again, things were kind of all over the place because everything in the NFL is all over the place. Like, seriously, everything is just insane.
Well, this is the worst the Seahawks have looked since 2011.
Yeah,
so.
when you've had pretty much 7 straight years of the Seahawks in the playoffs, as Seahawks fans, it's kind of hard to think they're not going to be in the playoffs this year. Like, they might not be in the playoffs, and that's weird. That's weird to think about. So, cut us some slack.
Well, and to be honest, probably most of the people who are listening to this are from around here anyways and follow the Hawks or whatever, so either way, thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening. Appreciate all of you.
Yeah, if you got this far, why don't you comment your favorite type of... I think I've said pizza before.
Nobody commented anyway, so
then if you got this far, tell me your favorite topping on pizza. How about that?
What are you going to go with?
Oh, everyone loves pineapple on pizza. So my favorite topping on pizza, not counting sauce, would definitely be
cheese.
Well, the reason I say not counting sauce is because I love just like white sauce, sauce on pizza, but not counting like the sauce and cheese, right? The things that just go on top, the toppings, you could say. Favorite topping, probably
the middlings. That's what
I really like roasted garlic on my pizza, but I think the most important topping on a pizza is probably chicken. Or sausage. Oh, sausage is really good.
Sausage is good.
Bacon's really good, though.
Ooh. I'm going to go with my favorite topping. I'm just going to go with classic. I'm going to go with pepperoni, man. You can pair that with any amount of vegetables and it's still a solid pizza.
It is. Pepperoni sometimes is overdone on pizzas, though. I've had a lot of pepperoni pizzas where it's pepperoni and there's some cheese inside because it's just so much pepperoni.
Right. Yeah, you gotta find a good balance, but the consistency that pepperoni brings to the table when it comes to really bringing a pizza together. I mean, sometimes the pepperoni can carry the pizza. However, if you put strong toppings around pepperoni, you can really get a grade A pizza.
Really should finish top 5 Heisman voting easily.
Definitely. Pepperoni for Heisman.
Should win the Triple Crown.
That'd be insane to win the Heisman and a Triple Crown.
I mean, honestly.
Pepperoni, though, if there's anyone who can do it.
And with that, that is going to be the end to the podcast. So thank you again for listening. This has been the Philbrook Football Podcast. Sponsored by Josh Gordon.
Oh, God, I can hear it now already, the X-Files.